Avrum Burg is a prominent Israeli politician. He's an author, he's a peace activist, and he is quite the thinker. He was a member of the Knesset, chairman of the Jewish Agency for Israel, speaker of the Knesset, and at one point, interim president of Israel, although for only 20 days. I think that's quite an accomplishment. He was the first speaker of the Knesset to have been born in Israel after its declaration of independence in 1948. Avrum Burg, thank you. Welcome to The Unfiltered View. I am Israel Ellis. This is The Unfiltered View, and we are very happy to have Avrum with us today. Our currency is viewership. It is subscribers, so please don't be shy. Share this podcast with your network. Comment where appropriate. Like and visit us and register at israelellis.com, at Israel Ellis on Substack, and let's get started. Avrum, once again, thank you and welcome to The Unfiltered View.
Thank you very much for your beautiful eulogy.
Okay. I can see we're going to have a good time. I want to set the stage for this interview, and I want to understand who you are, your ideas for the future of Israel, and by consequence, the Jews. So I'm going to get right into it. I understand that you reject the idea of traditional Zionism. Do I have that correct?
Wrong. Next question, please.
Okay. I was going to ask you to define traditional Zionism, and why would I get that wrong?
Let me ask you a preliminary question. Who is a Zionist? The one who has a Zionist mother?
I would assume.
Who's a Zionist?
Okay. I mean, a Zionist is somebody who believes in the idea of a state for Jewish people, and that is the land of Israel. How's that?
Obsolete.
All right. So tell me, teach me.
Let's begin. No, teaching is a little bit of patronizing. Let's share.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say first with a mathematical definition to say there is no one definition which defines all the people who define themselves as Zionists. So you give me one definition, I'll give you another one and another one and another one. And by the introduction, or by the way you introduce me into this program, you in a way try to label me in a place which is comfortable for you. In which drawer should I put this untamed individual? A Zionist, a post-Zionist, a non-Zionist, an anti-Zionist, above Zionist, below Zionist. And I refuse to fit into your boxes. In a sense, that Zionism, whether you like it or not, in retrospect, was a necessary movement as a scaffolding to enable the Jewish people to move from a diasporic regime into a sovereign one. Because for 2,000 years, the regime in which the Jews behaved and functioned and moved around was a diasporic one. And we needed a centered one, which is the establishment of the state of Israel. So in order to restructure, like any restructuring, you need scaffolding. Zionism was the scaffolding for the transformation. In the middle of May 1948, the new structure was established, was inaugurated in a huge happiness, almost a miraculous one for the Jews of the place, and very tragic for the Palestinians one. And ever since we have a new structure, we don't need the scaffoldings anymore. You can remove them because from May 48 and on, a new entity was born and a new entity began its way towards real life. And this is Israeliness. So if you ask me, who am I? And that was your question. I have three names, like any good Canadian Jew, okay? I'm a human being. That's my family name. My middle name, I'm an Israeli. And my private name, I'm a Jew. I don't need any fourth definition in order to define my entity, my belonging, my behavior, my position, my intellectual spheres of influence.
Avrum, I get that. And I myself have a problem with cataloging people or categorizing people to fit them into a box. And, but having grown up with this, and I think that you asked me sort of, well, where did I get this concept from? Well, obviously, I get it from what I've been taught and what I've grown up in. And my understanding of traditional Zionism has been about the seeking and establishment of a Jewish homeland to ensure survival and self-determination, emphasizing Jewish sovereignty, identity, and security above all else, something that was really born on the tail of the Holocaust. However, call it what you like and categorize it as you will. To me, Zionism encapsulates a word that is the epitome of a very strong both idealism and political belief in a land of the ancient land that the Jewish people are indigenous to, and the establishment in modern times of that sovereignty in that land for, like you say, for the first time in over 2,000 years. So I really don't like to get caught on these labels. However, I do appreciate what you're saying, that here I am coming from a bias, if you will, from the way I was brought up, as most people do, and I don't think they can be blamed for doing so. But what we really need is we need to open our minds to accept other people's views or to accept, revisionist views in order for the opportunity to have constructive conversation, dialogue, and outcome of policy that is going to suit everybody. So I hear you, and I really like what you're saying. Thank you very much. I don't have to agree with it, and it's not even something to agree or disagree. It could be, okay, we're getting there, but it could be subjective. But I think that clearly, Zionism is a proud opportunity for Jews to have self-determination in a sovereign state that is recognized in modern political times. Is this not what you agree with?
No.
Okay.
Loved your answer, though you formulated it in a manner of a question, okay? Let's begin with a couple of very basic things. If Zionism is about, at the tail of the Holocaust or the shadow of the Holocaust, the place which was supposed to ensure the safety of the Jews for the never again philosophy, should I buy a ticket? Because the most dangerous place for Jews in the last 80 years in the world is Israel.
I have to well, you live there, so you would know. And definitely if you look at them specifically as wars, however, as somebody who comes to Israel quite often, I have to say that, especially lately, I feel safest in Israel.
That's okay. That's a question of feeling, but question of numbers. More Jews were killed in, give me the tiniest kibbutz possible, than in Canada in the last 100 years. Or the collective. And we have 200 denied bombs, and we have hero paratroopers and unbelievable pilots and the best high-tech in the world. Doesn't help. So security-wise, it failed. Number-wise. Let's go further. Promised land. The foundation of the state of Israel were, and in a way still, but not forever, very secular. Israel was not founded because of the Bible. It was founded because of the decision of the international community, the UN in 1947. And the paradox in which the majority of Israelis up until recently do not believe in God, but fully accept the promise of this God for this land is a little bit of oxymoronic. Let's move on with that, okay? Who said, where is it written? Show me the verse, show me the chapter, show me the book, show me the sage who says that living on the land requires sovereignty on the same territory and exercising malicious power, and requires a denial of the right of another people for the same criterions you accept for yourself, which is self-definition and self-determination. If you have it here, the Palestinians do. But by denying the right of the Palestinian for self-determination, you deny the very foundation of your own. Now face it.
I appreciate your views, Avrum Burg.
It's the third time already.
I appreciate what you're saying. And however, sovereignty is required for self-determination, especially in the modern world that we live in. And the Jewish people are indigenous to the land of Israel far before the Palestinians.
So are the Palestinians.
I don't think the Palestinians. In fact, I got to tell you something, Avrum. You may not like me for this, but there are no Palestinians. There is an identity called for the Palestinians, but there is no Palestinian land. There is no Palestinian people. There is an identity of people. You know what? We live in a modern day of pronouns. You can identify as anything you like. You can identify as him, they, who, she. I have no problem with that. And if someone identifies as something and needs my empathy and needs my understanding and respect to how they identify, that's fine. But let's not turn the identification of somebody into this is our land, because there were never Palestinians in the land of Israel. Israel is an indigenous land to the Jewish people.
I love the shower in which they washed your brain. I love to buy a shower like this. Life is so easy. No Palestinians. Let's deny their existence. Let's deny their motivation. Let's assume the Jews were here forever. Forget about it. Jews exiled from the land before the destruction of the Second Temple.
Sorry. Hang on. Yeah, okay.
You invented history. Let me quote it. Okay? The exile movement began before the destruction of the Second Temple, to Alexandria, to Minor Asia, to Rome, to South Europe, etc.
This was not a voluntary exile.
Oh yes, it was.
And you're saying if a people. So I want to ask you something.
Let me finish before you again jump on your brain with your brainwash. Okay. The history is such that we were not exiled by power. We exiled voluntarily before the destruction and before the 135 Bar Kokhba rebellion, stupid, arrogant rebellion. The process of in and out was much earlier than the destruction. And all during history of the 2,000 years outside of the place, we had so many opportunities to come back. Never opted for it. Never. And even before the Holocaust, when millions left Europe, okay, very few came here and very many came to North America, voluntarily so. And the land was open. And at the same time, there was a continuous presence of non-Jews in the country. Very few Jews, if at all, and numbered of many others converted to this, converted to that, but lived here forever. When I'm pre-Zionist offspring. From my mom's side, I'm the 7th or 8th or 9th generation, much before Herzl even thought about it, okay? When they came to the land, from whom did they rent the apartment in Hebron? From a Palestinian landlord.
Well, from an Arab landlord.
Oh, no.
Sorry. But there wasn't a Palestinian state. There was.
Don't patronize. Don't decide for them whom are they.
I'm not patronizing. I'm just quoting fact. I'm quoting fact.
I can patronize you as well, and tell you what I really think about you with this kind of position. But I don't do it because I respect you. So if you do not respect the Palestinians, don't talk about them. Not with me.
Well, first of all,
I accept the principle that between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, every individual and therefore every collective has the right for the same rights. And no Israel Ellis in the world will decide for me or for them what is their position.
Avrum, I disagree with something fundamental of what you're saying, and that is that we cancel the indigenous nature of someone's right to a land or someone's historical establishment of a land because of an assumption or perhaps an interpretation of in history that there was a voluntary exit. So I disagree with any kind of voluntary exit, but that's fine. We could debate about that. This is a historical. Hold on. Let me finish. This is an. Avrum Burg. This is an historic. This is
celebrated.
Look,
facts are against you.
I do not believe that there was a voluntary exit. Maybe some people voluntarily
Read-
exited. Maybe other
read-
people paid with their lives to stay there.
Read the Talmud.
Okay.
Read the New Testament. Read history. Read
okay.
Scaffolding.
But regardless.
Don't read Wikipedia.
Okay. Wikipedia. Yeah, there's one. There's one. You really want to go to Wikipedia for facts? Seriously?
I said, don't read it. I think this is what you do. You have no clue about your own history.
However, my point though is that I don't think that exiting a land necessarily in any way takes away from the ancestors of that land their indigenous right to that land.
Fantastic, I agree.
And so regardless of how the Jews exited Israel, whether it was, as you say, voluntarily, as I say, by force, inconsequential to that, they're still indigenous to the land that we call Israel today.
Other Palestinians who left only 80 years ago, expelled by us.
I must tell you that, and it's not about being, and I'm not disrespecting.
You're conditioning.
I'm not
conditioning.
Okay, I'm not patronizing, and I'm not disrespecting any one group of people. But I'm a person who deals objectively, and I try to deal with facts, and I try to deal with truth. And the fact is, historically, from my knowledge of history and my extensive knowledge of the political Middle East, of the spectrum of beliefs and interpretations and subjective interpretations of what goes on in the Middle East, there has never been the establishment of a Palestinian state or a Palestinian people. And this is nothing. No, hold on a second. This is not a disrespect or anything. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm stating a fact. So when we talk in terms of Palestinians, it really bothers me that I believe that is a distortion of history and facts.
Listen.
Don't get upset with me, Avrum. Like we're having a good conversation.
I mean, it's very difficult because we are swimming in two different oceans.
Fine, so we can move on.
Okay.
We can move on. Let's
clarify at least the seashores.
Okay.
There've never been in Jewish history an entity like the State of Israel. The Jewish people had two formations, either the kingdom of David that has been, or the kingdom of Messiah to come. We never had the State of Israel. So if we take your argument, you say there is no validity for this state because that's not the one we were loyal to. It's neither the David sent a hands full of blood one or the Messiah, son of David. That's a new creation. The whole idea, I'll take it further. The whole idea of a nation state is new. Is new in Canada, and new in America.
So we could say that what you're referring to is the modern state of Israel.
That's right. And the entry of nationalism is something new that in Israel became a mutation of Jewish history. We never had a fusion of 5 elements: sovereignty, territory, power, religion, and language. So the State of Israel is a new creation. It belongs to Israelis only. It does not belong to you. It does not belong to world Jewry. You are alien. It's not yours. You're not even a stakeholder.
So I believe that
it belongs to your son, and it belongs to me, and it belongs to the Palestinians who are citizens of the country. That's it.
So I have to tell you whether I agree or disagree. There are people who will agree with you. There are people who disagree with you. It is a long spectrum. On one hand, where people consider Israel to be the Jewish state of Israel. Okay. And on the other side, you're saying that Israel is the modern state of Israel that has no relationship to the Jewish people who were there before. Hey, that's fine.
I read the other day in Yerushalayim. I was running in Yerushalayim the other day.
Yes.
And it was a taxi parking there with a bumper sticker. This taxi keeps Shabbat. I said, wow, what does it do for
keeps? It's a from taxi. It's a from taxi.
Yeah, no, the taxi goes to the mikveh. I mean, each Hale on Shabbos has a minyan.
I understand. But
it's in Israel. Taxi cannot keep Shabbat, and a state cannot be Jewish.
I'm not going to judge the metaphor, and I hear what you're saying.
No,
listen,
but you use
Avrum,
it
to move on. From what I understand, you promote a concept of what is called a one-state solution.
I promote a concept which I don't count states. I count freedoms and liberties.
Okay, so
it is implemented by one state, 5 states, or 2 federations.
But I just I just want to understand. It has been said from the research I've done about you that you promote a one-state solution, correct or not correct? I think I got it from Wikipedia, by the way. And the question I've got for you is, number one, what is a one-state solution? And number two, what is the difference between a two-state solution and a one-state solution, according to Avrum Burg?
The two-state solution, as for now, is a hollow bullshit. Because the real discourse in Israel today is, what kind of one state will it be between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean? Will it be the contemporary one of one state with two regimes, one full of privileges for Jews and one full of discriminations for Palestinians from within Israel and outside of Israel? Or will it be a reality, a shared space in which every individual, as I said, and every community has the right for the same rights? I do not count states. I don't care whether it will be one state, 2 states, 5 states, federation, confederation. I want
Avrum, you are
see
concerned with the modern definition of state that is recognized by the UN and international bodies. I think it's actually very important to determine, are we having a one-state or two-state solution?
Yeah, I would like to have a state, for example, like the United States of America, that you have 50 states and a federal system that equalizes between the differences.
So you're saying this is...
I cannot accept the reality of ethnical democracy, which one element is supreme to another element, and the discrimination is built in. It's neither democracy nor Jewish.
Are you concerned about the demography behind this?
No.
Given the mandate, well, hold on a second, because given the mandate of the jihad, and would you be concerned about the declaration of the annihilation of Jewish population? Do you think our Arab friends will want to live side by side in peace under a one-state solution once they have the demographic advantage? What do you think is going to happen to the Jewish people?
Let's begin with numbers and then with concepts, okay? If the entire Jewish people, 15, 16 million we are all Ben Gvir and Smotrich, these people should be annihilated. If the Jewish people is one Albert Einstein, okay, is one righteous among the nations, the Dalai Lama, it should be preserved forever. I do not count heads. Heads are meaningless for me.
But I think you should be concerned about how people view the Jewish people in an organized way.
No. And then I go for ideas. For me, the threat of extreme jihadists and Smotrich is the same one. This one wants to annihilate these people. This one wants to annihilate that people. And for me, the partition line does not go between the collective automatic Jew and the collective automatic Arab or Muslim or whatever it is. It is some of us who believe in peace and equality and justice, and there are so many of them, Jews and Arabs alike, and some of us who do not believe in it and would like to annihilate the other, and there are so many Jews and non-Jews alike. So for me, the coalition of Smotrich and Ben Gvir and Yahya Sinwar, which are my enemies.
I know, but they're on the extreme. I mean, we'll all agree that people like that are on the extreme, right? I don't believe they make up the majority.
No.
In your opinion, because that's how you see it.
What says I would like to accomplish what we did not do in 48, which is to continue the ethical cleansing. What is it? Humanity? Righteous among the nations? What is it? It's racism. It's Judeo-Nazis.
Avrum, I think that you are taking an extreme point of view, just like Ben Gvir and Smotrich are taking an extreme point of view. And by the way, in my book, when I talk about Ben Gvir and Smotrich, I don't talk about them with kindness, because I believe that what we've done is we've given the controls over to a 747 to somebody who knows how to fly a little Cessna. And I believe that we've gone ahead and we've, through the political system of Israel, these people have gained power in order to achieve the government that you have Netanyahu. So I don't agree either with that type. I don't like extremism on any side, because I think when you have extremism, whether on the right or on the left, we end up canceling each other. And that is how we end up with irrational and unreasonable people. I want to just take this opportunity to segue and to ask you this. Is the Jewish state of Israel and the Jewish people one of the same? Those people who are anti-Israel in today's rhetoric, are they synonymous with anti-Jewish? Would you go so far as to call them anti-Semitic? So the question is kind of threefold. One is, do you see the Jewish state of Israel synonymous with the Jewish people? And do you see people who are basking in the narrative of anti-Israel rhetoric? Do you feel that that is synonymous with anti-Jewish and that they are anti-Semites?
It's to fold it differently with your permission, okay? First, the state of Israel is the state of the Israelis. It has no Jewishness in its essence, okay? The quality or the definers, the properties of the place are defined by the public sphere and the communities that function in this sphere. No numbers can change it. For example, let's say the demography you're so afraid of. One day, the Jews will be minority. Will you still continue to enforce this alleged Jewishness on the rest of the population? The answer is a little bit tricky. I mean, let's imagine
it's a very complex issue.
So the collision between democratic and Jewish is waiting to occur, God forbid.
This I will agree.
So I say the Israelis, the Jewishness of the communities is very private and collective and communal definers, but does not define the political apparatus. The Jewish people is larger than that. More than that, I say, I take it for granted. It's no cynical that you are a very devoted Jew with your identity, your belonging, your expressions, etc. The state of Israel does not define you, and you do not define the state of Israel. Yes, we have alliances, and we in conjunction on many, many values, agreement and disagreements. It's a larger than the state of Israel. Now comes the next element. The state of Israel, it did not begin with Netanyahu. It began much earlier, but he perfected the system, weaponized the concept of criticism, the state of Israel, to a level which is, for me, a Holocaust denial. At what sense? Not everybody who criticizes the state of Israel is an anti-Semite. I hate what America does in Guantanamo. I open my mouth. I hated what Sarkozy did in the suburbs of Paris. I open my mouth. I don't like what happens in Great Britain about this and that. I open my mouth. The only place in the geopolitical realm that you cannot open your mouth about is about Israel, because the minute you say something about the wrongdoings of Israel, you become an anti-Semite, and every criticizer is a new Adolf Hitler. And by nominating...
I think this is a very narrow view.
Yeah, it's very narrow, but it's very wide. Everyone is anti-Semite. And therefore, I say there is anti-Semitism, but not every criticism, by Jew or non-Jew, of the wrong deeds of Israel, and there are so many of them, is anti-Semitism.
But every time I'm in Israel, I see tens and thousands of people demonstrating against Netanyahu, against the Netanyahu government. I see the active involvement of contrary opinions and voices. And none of these people, and they're all going ahead and having Shabbat dinner, and they're celebrating holidays, or they're participating in their cultural definition of what it means for them to be Jewish. I don't recall any of them mudslinging, calling them anti-Semites.
Perhaps you can call... The machinery of Netanyahu did, and the loudspeaker of his is Donald Trump, who says, whomever does not support me is not a good Jew. That's the best.
Listen, we both know these are extreme comments. We both do. And I think that the reasonableness...
From a kind of
You're a very smart guy. I think we have to be able to filter through emotional rhetoric and responses with the reasonableness of narratives.
Donald Trump. I agree completely.
So I want to ask you something. When people, I hear you. What are you saying? Are you saying that if people are anti-Israel, that is not synonymous with being anti-Jewish. When I go outside my house and I see rallies of Palestinians here in downtown Toronto in Canada, and they are calling for from the river to the sea, and they're calling for Jews go home, this is not an anti-Semitic statement.
Let's
Because
organize it.
Because I think from the progressives that the message is very clear. The message out there is anti-Israel equates with being anti-Jewish. And much of and otherwise they wouldn't be firebombing synagogues in Montreal, in Toronto, in Europe. You wouldn't have attacks on Jewish people because they are attacking the Jewish people for the issue going on in Israel. I see that this is clearly anti-Semitic.
Let's try to reorganize the dishes on the table, okay? Same dishes, different setting, with your permission, okay? There is anti-Semitism in the world. There is, in our generation, unfortunately, a lot of hatred in the world. I mean, there is a menu. Tell me whom do you like to hate? Xenophobia, Judophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, transgender phobia. There is a lot of hatred in the world. Instead of us, the victims of historic eternal hatred, leading the coalition of anti-hate in the world, wherever there is any expression, we say, no. Our hating us is unique. We are exceptional in being hated. And I think it's wrong strategically, because there should be a world coalition against any hate expression, wherever it is. Item number one. Item number two. There is a lot of stupidity and a lot of superficiality at some of these demonstrations. At the sense, look at modern states. We argued earlier about the very notion of nation state. I don't know even one state of modern setting that doesn't have a skeleton at its foundation. America, United States of America, and native nations, Canada as well, Belgium and Central African diamonds, Great Britain and colonialism, exploitation, you name it, okay? Whenever you go against these countries, you never call for the annihilation or cancellation of Belgium, Great Britain, France, or Italy or whatever. So I tell them, listen, are there many wrongs at the very foundation of Israel? Yes. Are there much better or much worse than the other wrongs? The answer is no. So take off the table the whole issue of cancellation and let's address what's wrong and how can it be corrected. Next, there is a lot of stupidity there as well. When I see Berkeley transgenders make Hamas as the icon of their freedom, and I ask, the only thing I wish for them is not to cross the street of Gaza today. Okay, after I clean all of this, okay,
I think we could definitely agree, very much so. We are on the same page right there.
When I clean all of this, I want to put on the table one what about. And I know it's whataboutism, but it's very important to have it on the table.
But this is my point, Avrum. You're speaking with reason. You're speaking with reason. And I understand your logic. However, I'm concerned that in practicality, in practice, your logic does not apply where we can go ahead and exist in this wonderful fantasy, and then our Jewish lives are safe.
No doubt that fears and phobias are much more comfortable. No doubt. And trusting is more difficult work because you can be afraid alone. In order to trust, you need a partner. So it takes an effort.
You're trusting people who deception is part of their religion.
You generalize Israel. I do not trust some of the Jews. I do not trust some of the Arabs. And I trust some of the Jews and some of the Arabs. I go like Hannah Arendt. I don't have an automatic collective belonging. I identify and socialize and make coalitions with people with shared values. A minority or majority, it's irrelevant. It's about the principles. But I want to continue to accomplish the what about argument. look at the day. I mean, Donald Trump gave his stand-up comedy in the Knesset and the very, I would say, embarrassing show, okay, of him and the Knesset.
There are cringe. Trump does provide some cringe-worthy moments. I will agree. However, in all due respect to him, he is he has accomplished a great deal.
Let's see. History does not happen in one shot. Let's see. Even in the giving of the Torah in Sinai, it was a beautiful firework, which ended up with 40 years in the desert. So I don't believe in one-off.
Well, that's why that's why the Jews invented Waze, so that wouldn't happen again.
Yeah, and we invented Facebook as well. Let's continue for a second, okay?
We didn't invent Facebook.
And this is okay. One aboutism. Look at this last 72 hours, okay? Up until 72 hours ago, international sanctions, ICC, ICJ, demonstrations against Israel were all over the globe. The minute that Israel moved a millimeter, and forced to move a millimeter, unfortunately, okay, didn't do it voluntarily, to move a millimeter towards a different direction, all of a sudden, it's a little bit lower. Why is that?
We'll see. That remains to be seen also.
As for the last 72 hours, I don't know more than that. I know what I see now. And I know when you check history and you check milestones in history, the history of the state of Israel, the times in which the hatred against Israel was the highest was at times of conflict, where it was the lowest and Israel was the most accepted and its reputation impeccable, were in times of agreements and peace.
Let me rephrase that. Avram, what you're saying, hold on, I just want to rephrase what you just said.
When Israel kills 70,000 people in Gaza, the Palestinian issue becomes iconic for people who have no clue where Gaza is.
You know that those 70,000 people are inflated numbers by the Hamas Ministry of Health. Hold on one second. And you're talking about them as if they're innocent victims. Let me tell you, many of them came across over to Kibbutz Be'eri and Kibbutz into Israel and facilitated the murder of Jewish men, women, and children. So please do not talk about these people as innocents.
How many of the 70,000? Okay, we didn't kill 70,000. How many did we?
Honestly, Avram, one is too many.
No, hang on. Don't run away.
The killing of anybody is too many. But I want to rephrase something you just said. You just said that when the Jewish state. I gotta talk.
Don't run away. Don't run away. Okay,
but I just want to rephrase what you said.
Israel never provided numbers. Israel sealed Gaza from international media. Open Gaza, let Israel Ellis go there and count numbers. But as long as you do not allow
come on, really, Avram, we're not talking about a clean situation. How are you going to count?
Ask Israel to provide numbers.
Listen, who cares about numbers? Who cares? I'll give you numbers. Avram. 1,200 innocent people, young women, men, raped, murdered, brutalized. I'll give you that number. I'll give you another number. 6 million. I'll give you another number. 250. I'll give you another number. 20 hostages for 2 years denied any kind of decency or Red Cross access, anything.
I do not argue with you about any of the numbers. I think the Holocaust is irrelevant here because the Palestinians did not do the Holocaust. Somebody else did it. So let's not put everything on their account.
But what you're saying, Avram, is you're saying that God help the Jews who defend themselves.
Or your interviewee. Who are you now?
Okay, I'm having a conversation. Go ahead.
So, hang on. All the numbers are right. We mourn them all.
Well, I don't think the 70,000 number is right.
No. We mourn them all. And we don't even mention the fact that it is this government who abandoned them, and these ministers and the prime ministers and his machinery badmouth the families who fought for the return of the kids. Leave it aside. It's okay. That's okay. I don't expect much more from these people. That's okay. That's the best they can do. Okay. However, first day, first week, first month, first year was self-defense. How many kids you have to kill in order to justify?
First, how do you know kids are being killed?
Hey, hang on.
But how do you know kids? Why would you inflame the rhetoric?
1,000 kids you killed. What justifies it?
Well,
Give me
first of
one
all,
thing that justifies it.
hold on. We're not talking about. There is no justification in killing of children. Hold on, Avram. There is no justification. There is no. But wait,
Did we kill
Avram.
one innocent child?
Wait,
Did
is
we
it
kill
really?
one?
Is it the fault of Israel that these kids are being killed, or the fault of Hamas? The fault of an ideology that is a death cult? Does Israel go ahead and put its military installations underneath hospitals?
How many in your counting we have to kill in order for you to be happy?
I don't think that this is a calculation. I don't think this is a. I think this is an.
Give me a number. 2 million, 5 million?
You know, Avram, I think this is a very unreasonable and unfair expression on your part.
Because it's where you take it.
It's not how I take it. I take it the fact that there is going to be collateral damage in wars, but this is not. But this is not the issue. But this is
American numbers. Listen, in American numbers, 50,000 people in Gaza is 10 million Americans.
Avram, how would you have dealt with it differently if you were Prime Minister of Israel when 1,200 people are murdered by people coming over your border and who have threatened to murder you? How do you deal with it?
Day one, I wrote what happened in the Knesset here. Day one, Israel should stand and say, not about how I retaliate or how acting out about anger. Okay, I understand. It's natural. Shouldn't happen for politicians and leaders and generals, but it happened. Then stop. Take a breath. Think twice. Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to take it? Where? What do you want? Gaza disappeared.
Go ahead.
Gaza disappeared? No.
So what should they have done? So what would you have done? Avrum Burg is Prime Minister of Israel.
Very simple.
October 7th happens. October 8th comes around. What are you doing, Avrum Burg?
Day one and all the days before that, Netanyahu undermined and demolished the same agreement time and again and time and again. Bring in every potential supporter of a solution and say, let's sit down, see who is responsible. Criminals, take them to ICC and ICJ and wherever you take people like this. Remove them from the equation. Nuremberg-style Gaza. Let's introduce into the Gazians process other forces, which are the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Qataris and the Palestinians in the West Bank, that they take on their shoulder the security of Israel since Oslo, whether you like it or not. 70% of Israeli security is done by Palestinian security forces. Introduce them in. Restore it. Give it 6 years, 5 years to rebuild different dynamics.
Sure, as they're building tunnels and as they're planning their next attack. And Hamas has said straight out that it will go and do this and continue to do this until Israel is annihilated.
Let me define you very nicely because I respect you. You are a warmonger.
I don't think so.
Instead of offering a hand as an alternative to what they do, you cooperate and you become as aggressive. And since you are more efficient...
by the way, I take offense. I take offense. I am not a warmonger.
Listen to it very carefully. Between you and me, there is no shared value and no common denominator. We do not belong to the same Jewish system. That's it. There is a cleavage between us.
Well, if you're saying that I am unapologetically Jewish, and that you have a problem with your Jewish survival, yes, we would differ. But we would differ. But Avram,
for me, survival is making peace. You became a killer.
Here's the problem. Avram, what you're speaking about, you're speaking about in terms of two rational. Okay,
for one innocent
you're
Palestinian.
talking about two rational parties. You're talking. Okay, I believe it's a fantasy. You're talking about two rational parties sitting down and working out their differences and playing nicely. But this does not work when you're dealing with the lovers of death.
You have no rationale. You have emotions, you have sentiments, you have traumas, you have no logic.
Personally, I think I'm extremely practical.
Killing and killing and killing and killing.
Avram, but it's not Israel. Israel isn't the perpetrator here. Hamas is the perpetrator. Hamas is the lover of death. This is
Let me give you the framing. Whatever wrong Israel did to the Palestinians since 48 and on does not justify the first atrocity of the Hamas on October 7th. And whatever atrocities and crimes against humanity that Hamas did in October 7th does not justify the crimes that Israel committed in Gaza up until last week. It's two criminal sets that do not.
But here's the difference, Avram. The crimes that Hamas has committed against Israel are documented, or understood, and undisputable. But the crimes that you're saying, the crimes that you're saying that Israel has committed against Hamas, all of this is conjecture. None of this is proven. None of this is documented.
Oh, yeah, it's easier. It's cleaner. You kill cleaning. Oh, you're a very synthetic Jew. Come on.
Avram, your 2008 book, The Holocaust is Over, We Must Rise from Its Ashes, has been criticized as a denial of reality, an attempt to deconstruct the established narrative of Jewish victimhood and resilience. This has dominated, according to you, in your book, that this concept of Jewish victimhood and resilience has dominated Israeli political culture since the state's founding. You argue, Avram, that the victim status out of the Holocaust has become a corrosive force. I understand that your own father was a survivor of the Holocaust, having escaped the Nazis in 1939. Germany was once a home to a thriving Jewish people, and look what happened there. If not for Israel, then what is the Jewish antidote to never again?
Listen, I'm very happy that you read at least the criticism of my book. I'm sorry you didn't read the book itself. Okay, happens, but you still have time. And since I wrote a couple of books, I give you the time till our next episode, okay? The very argument of this book of mine is a very simple one. I said, it happened. It happened. But Israel, the political, cynical Israel, took the Holocaust and instead of making it a memory, make it a national strategy and exploits it as a bank for credit for unacceptable deeds and policies. The first and foremost is the occupation and the denial of millions of people of their natural birthrights of and democratic liberties. Some criticized the book because they didn't like it, and some adopted it, unfortunately, as a prophecy to say, be aware if you don't read Avrum's book, see what happened to you. And what happened to us is your Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and Netanyahu.
I think those are extremes, though. Those are extremes, Avram.
You didn't read the book, so I'm very happy to debate the non-reading book. Fine. Okay? Next. Okay? Next. My argument says as follows. The reason American Jews, Canadian Jews, Great Britain Jews are protected today is not because of Israel. Israel puts them under a lot of pressure and under a lot of threats, as you described by the rallies under your window. What protects Jews are not bombs and are not paratroopers. It is a society that has civil rights and human rights and constitutional rights and very strong law and order forces. And what is so essential for Jews to struggle for is exactly this, is Avram Yoshua Heschel. To stand to the side of the deprived and to the side of the underprivileged, because this is where the weak links of the constitutional chain will, God forbid, will be broken. And therefore, it is not Israel that protects the life of the Jews. It is the modern post-Holocaustic Raphael Lemkin, international new norms, commitment of governments, the new Nostra Aetate of the Catholic Church, of a new dialogue between Christians and Jews that secures the very being of yours and mine, here and all over. Bombs will never, denied bombs, will never secure sustainable existence. It will secure next week. It will secure the next round. Will never secure the long-term.
I agree. Avram, I agree that we can agree on this. We can agree that
what happened in Germany is that the Germans themselves, of then Germany, of my father's Germany, compromised the very weak, I would say, embryotic democracy they had, 14 years, 15 years, 20 years of Weimar, very fragile democracy. They compromised it. And the minute you compromise democracy, you compromise your being. And what Israel is doing in the last couple of years is compromising its own democracy for Jews. Forget about non-Jews.
I gotta tell you, Avram, that first of all, I want to tell you that I agree with you that war is not a sustainable answer to the continuation of any society. However, what is required?
However, it's a fantasy. It's a utopia. Poor you, be careful.
Avram, it took several years. It took several years to attack Iran and to take out their nuclear capabilities. Much diplomacy was expressed. There was a lot of exercise in diplomacy, but the fact is that Iran, had they gotten to the point of nuclear capabilities, I don't think you and I would be having a conversation about this right now. I think we'd be in a much different situation. The world changed when we took out their nuclear capabilities, and this is my point. My point is, yes, war is definitely not very palatable to anyone who believes in peace as their own moral constitution, or the moral constitution of a people. But the fact is that war is unfortunately a necessary pragmatic move when you have a very unreasonable person, a very unreasonable group on the other side that countless times says, I am going to kill you. I am going to kill you. And even in the Torah, and even in every religion, self-defense is not a crime. It is not a crime for the Jewish people, Avrum Burg, to be self-defense. You're telling me that Israel was at its highest of violence and things when it was because the Jews are defending themselves. This is what we should vilify them for.
My only recommendation for you is next Rosh Hashanah, go to a different shul. Because I hear sermons which I don't really like. So let me give you a different interpretation.
You're assuming, but you're making an assumption. You're assuming that I don't have a mind of my own and that my thinking is derived by listening to some extremists. Avram, I'm talking from my neshama. I'm talking from my heart.
So let me communicate with your neshama, okay?
Yeah, please.
First about Iran. I mean, if you fall for the fireworks of Netanyahu and Trump and you believe that Iran is away from a nuclear weapon...
Sorry, you don't think that Iran is a threat? You don't think that... Seriously?
It delayed it by a couple of months. But the year in which the Iranian accelerated the enrichment of uranium was the year in which Trump, as an asshole, withdrew from the agreement. Up until then, they did not enrich.
You think that these people were going to go ahead and comply with any agreement?
It's a fantasy. Liars. Listen, there are no worse liars than Netanyahu. Okay, it takes two.
I think this extremism, this idea that you have is clouding your good judgment.
On the Jewish neshama. You said the Torah said it, and the Torah said, and the Torah said.
No, I didn't say that.
Just say the Torah said, even the Torah said.
I mentioned it once. You're mentioning it several times.
So now let me tell you what the Torah really says, the way I understand it. And one other book I wrote and you didn't read is a comprehensive progressive interpretation of the 5 books of Moses.
I
Very
took
near
a
to
look
you.
at a summary of your book, and I thought it was very
Don't
interesting.
summary, one by one, and I'll give you 2 pieces of it.
Okay.
Is when you have a siege around the city, a siege around a city by the Torah, the first thing, and this is in an act of war, v'karata eleha leshalom. The first thing you do, you call for peace for this city according to the Torah, and you leave one wing of it open for them to escape. That's the Torah concept of a siege. I'll tell you more than this. When you say, Hakam lehorgecha, hashkem lehorgo, he who rises to kill you, wake up earlier to kill him, right? And the second thing is, there is the concept of din rodef, which if somebody is chasing you, okay, as if you are allowed to turn around and kill him in order for him not to kill you. This is a Talmud's verdict. However, this is where we do not pay attention. Why? Because it's not comfortable. If you can save yourself by maiming him, by injuring him, by stopping him, without killing, but you nonetheless kill him, you become a rodef. You become a chaser and persecutor. The Jewish killing system and Jewish war machine is not a blind carpet. It's not a red carpet and a free ticket to kill all.
So I'll tell you what, Avrum, the next time I have a Hamas...
You tell me Judaism allows this killing, wrong.
The next time I have a Hamas terrorist chasing me, I will turn around and I will try to assess the situation to see whether or not that terrorist means to kill me or whether or not I can maim him. Come on.
Very funny. Very funny. Very funny. Next time you will be a prime minister, before you launch a massive killing, you think, what does that mean? Ethically, politically, strategically, and historically. And if you will behave the way the Israeli prime minister behaved, you would be registered as he is, as the worst leader in Jewish history ever.
Listen, I'm not going to judge this because I don't live in Israel, and I will not stand there, and I can tell you in my book, in the wake-up call, I talk lots, which you should read. I talk lots about...
because you put a lot of pressure on me for this interview. And since you have very few people with the right opinion and very many people with the ultra-right opinion, I had to read it.
Okay, what did you think?
That's a different conversation.
Okay.
This is when I interview you.
Avrum, but I'm having you on. You're here. We're having this conversation.
It's a beautiful articulation of your own positions.
Okay, that's fine. But I want to tell you, despite the fact that I might be arguing with you, I very much want to hear what you have to say, and I want to learn from you. And I'm very open to, and you've taught me things, and I've learned things, and I'm always learning things. And I don't want to just speak to people within the echo chamber, because that's not how we're going to progress. And that is truly what I believe. So I want to ask you a question. The progressive movement of what has now been described as the left Marxist partnership with the jihadists has essentially created a self-hating culture in Western society. Movements born from this, such as DEI and BDS, seem to have become an undercover, subversive driver of modern-day spread of anti-Semitism. That's just the consequence of it. It is very uncomfortable for me, and this could be just my personal opinion, but I think it's of many of others as well, both traditional, religious, and secular Jews, to watch people like Bernie Sanders and others in his class who spend their lives vilifying Israel and what they argue to be Jewish privilege. This is what I want to understand. How do you define and answer what has become known as the self-hating Jew? Do you consider yourself in this category? And what is behind the self-hate that drives people to undermine the very survival of themselves? This is what keeps me up at night.
Okay, I'm troubled by other things, but that's okay. With a couple of things. First, I'm not a spokesman. I think that you're defining Bernie Sanders, but it's okay. You are privileged. I think he is an amazing individual who is, for me, the most impressive Jew of our generation, who introduces a value system for a society which is based on equality and fairness of distribution of public wealth. And I like very much what he radiates and what he generates with his philosophy and his tireless struggle. I like Bernie Sanders very much.
And by the way, there were many people in the Holocaust, Jewish people, who also were confronted and had an excellent voice about the moral consequence and moral sort of ideology behind how humans should live as they went to the gas chamber and as their ashes burned in the smokestacks.
It's my second part of the answer to you. I'm neither defined by previous traumas that haunt me forever, nor by others who try to define me. I ask myself, what am I? What do I feel? What do I stand for? What is my value system? And I offer it. You like it? Okay. You don't like it? It's also okay. No problem. I mean, for you to define me as a self-hating Jew, it's good for you. What do I care about what you think, whether I hate or not? I have a different way of lovemaking. I love Jewishness, and I love the Jewish civilization and the Jewish culture, and even the Israeli one differently than you. So if you define me as a self-hating something, enjoy it. What do I care? You do not define me. I'm not defined by external woodies. I'm defined by internal stamina, by my own belief. Therefore I learn, therefore I study, therefore I read, therefore I write, therefore I argue, therefore I agree, and therefore I disagree in order to sharpen my identity. And I offer it. And I'm not shy of coming to face you. The second or the third is about this whole thing of hate and hate and hate and hate. Let's take it's not my movement. Okay, it's a Palestinian one. Now imagine that Israel Ellis is a Palestinian in Nablus. Intellectual, nice city. There is a university there, graduate, etc. And you want to rebel against your situation that you for 50 some years, maybe even more, do not have any political rights. You cannot vote for any parliament. You cannot decide who decides over your life. So Israel turbulence and suicide bombing is not nice. Okay, we write off suicide bombings. Being a member of underground, guerrilla underground like Yitzhak Shamir and Menachem Begin, not nice. Okay, we don't like it. Going to the UN, no, it's a diplomatic terror. So what is left for them? How do you want them to express their opposition to what my country is doing to them? Give me a way. Give them a venue. BDS is not nice, not pleasant, but legitimate civil, non-violent disobedience. Not mine. For them, where I am their place, would have done the same. I do it. I do not cross the green line. I do not buy any settlements products. Why? Because I want to boycott them.
Okay, that's your personal protest. But you also don't go and murder them.
No. You think all the BDS are murderers?
I think that they are pandering to terrorists, and I think that they are prompting and supporting, and I think that this is the inevitable consequence of these policies. They have not become, as you say, these sanitized ideology of humanistic values. They have prompted violence against Jews. They are right from a segue into the moral indifference of normalizing and demonizing Jewish people. And forget about Israel for a moment. Forget about Israel. We are talking about pure anti-Semitism. And unfortunate for you, Avrum, and for your friend Bernie Sanders, these ideologies about fantasies about how the world should live in a perfect way, okay, unfortunately, this has been overtaken by the left. It has been overtaken by the jihadists in a weird partnership between Queers for Palestine, okay, and the jihadists who go from the river to the sea, And they've combined for what reason only? And that is the destruction and annihilation of Jewish people. In my opinion, that is what I see. And one thing, Avram, I am not going to sit around and knit while people are gathering outside to kill me. I am not going to be led like a sheep into the gas chamber.
Ah, you sound so heroic. Wow. I feel protected because of your naturalism.
However, I'm not here. I'm here, but that's why I'm speaking to you. That's why I'm speaking to others.
Since we repeat ourselves, now I know you already, so I want to use your logic. We've been there twice already, so I want to use your logic, okay? I'm finally becoming Israel Ellis, okay?
With more hair.
No, yeah, but less wisdom, okay? Let me be for a second. Oh, coalition of these Palestinians all want to kill us. That's very bad. That's not nice. You know them all. You talk to them. You have many Palestinian friends. You read the literature. You read the papers.
What you're saying is I'm generalizing. You're saying that I'm committing a sin of generalization.
You're generalizing in a good day. Now let me generalize you. Okay? I will say first, you say whomever supports them indirectly supports hating of Jews and killing of Jews. I will say whomever supports Netanyahu is actually supporting an ethical cleansing because in his government sits ministers of ethical cleansing, etc. But more than that, a shame. Now without ridiculing the argument, a shame. The current contemporary Israeli government and his disgraceful ministers under his leadership and his son's leadership make partners with the worst neo-Nazis, racist, white supremacists around the world, in Germany, in Austria, in Hungary, in United States of America.
But you don't generalize.
Hang on. It's okay to get together with the worst racist in the world in order to give them a Jewish kosher certificate to hate Muslims. Jews legitimate collective religious hatred. This is the essence of the coalition between evangelical and settlers, evangelical Zionists and settlers, between the ministers of this cabinet and the Alternative for Germany in Germany, or white supremacists in America and the settlers in Israel. If this coalition of the left is not nice for you, I hate your coalition with these rights.
So hold on.
Disgraceful.
Wait, Avram, I think that we can both agree that generalizations is dangerous because it is not when you generalize something and you create a universal rule that affects individuals like yourself and myself that have ideas that may be more centered, at least for me. I would like to think. Okay, I am definitely would like to be more centered, but
absolutely, center is the parking lot of people with no opinion.
I think I like that. I do like that. Okay, well then, I guess I should feel good when you categorize me as belonging to that right movement. Look, the world is a complicated place. You've been around long enough, Avram. You know that it's a complicated place. There's no clear answer. I want to take this in a different direction. We talk in terms of human failures that led us to October 7th. I wrote a book called The Wake-Up Call, where I talk about 7 observations that I make, including Jewish disunity, by the way, as being the 7th observation. And I'm not kind to Netanyahu, by the way, but I talk about the fact that there's many failures, what I would call human failures, that I think let October 7th happen. You are extremely well-versed in Jewish liturgy. I've watched some of your podcasts and I've seen some of you're obviously you know what you're talking about. You're well-versed. I have heard you speak and write in existential terms. And in this regard, I have a question for you, my friend. Where was God on October 7th?
He is out of the equation. In a sense that the Jewish theology, maybe like the entire monotheistic theologies, okay, are based on a triangle. A, that God is tovu meitiv. He's a good entity. He's a good God. The second is that we understand him. And the last one is that he's omnipotent. And he can do everything. Comes the Holocaust or comes any other atrocity, and you say, what happened there? If God is omnipotent, why didn't he prevent it? If he didn't prevent it and he's still omnipotent, maybe he's not that good. And if he's omnipotent and that good and did not prevent it, maybe we don't understand him. Something in this triangle doesn't work. Either you don't understand God and therefore the whole setting of mitzvot is obsolete, or you understand and he's not good and therefore it's bad news, or he is good and you understand him but he has no power. The three together cannot function anymore. And since the mass atrocities of the 20th century, in which war changed and death industry changed, the whole structure of Jewish theology and maybe even Christian theology crashed. And Jewish people did not yet find an answer to three challenges of modernity: the secularization of the world, the Holocaust with the theological crash, and the establishment of the State of Israel. We have ad hoc, practical, institutional answers. We don't have a new theology yet. So when you ask me where were God, he's not part of the equation.
That's hard. That's hard. And I don't care where you come from. That is hard to accept. And because I think there's some comfort. You want to accept it. You want to accept that God exists and that there is a divine providence in everything that is happening, no matter how painful those events are. You want to believe, because if you take God out of the equation, I feel awfully vulnerable.
My sympathy. However, when you read, and it's a longer story, it's a longer shiur, it's a longer teaching, okay? But when you read Moses, I mean, when he was first appointed at the age in which Biden retires, okay? I mean, he was he was over the hill. And then he had a fantastic 40 years of a career. When he started his career, he was suffering. He couldn't speak. I mean, he said to God, I can't talk. Then you read the book of Deuteronomy, you say, wow, what an eloquent speech. I mean, 30-some chapters, each and every one of them is more beautifully articulated than the previous one. And he builds and builds and builds and builds the speech of Moses. And then in the very last, close to the very finale, to the last lines, he says, it's not up there. לא בשמיים היא. בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו, in your heart and in your mouth and in your hands to do it. Moses lived the world and the Torah with a Protestant responsibility, which is on the shoulder of each and every one of them. Don't trust God. Don't trust the collective. Don't trust the chief cabinet. It's your responsibility to learn, to comprehend, to understand, and to act.
Would you agree that that we are all in the image of God, and that therefore we are all, everything that we do is either godly or not godly, and that ultimately the relationship between each other that we have is really the foundation of the existential existence of God? And when we act in a way, when people kill each other, when wars happen, this is the denial of God. But if we're able to achieve peace, then that is the existence of God.
I'm so much not interested in God that I wrote 5 books about him, okay?
You know, I just want to share one thing with you. My wife's grandfather, who I loved dearly, was a survivor of the Holocaust. And I used to come over to him and I used to say, Zeta, how are you? He'd say, Baruch Hashem. I'd say, you say Baruch Hashem, but you keep on telling me you're an atheist.
The same. And I say it's for me irrelevant, because when you look at the process from God as a babysitter who changed diapers to Adam and Eve, to the fact that he completely disappeared from our life and left the arena for us as our responsibility, his or her very presence is less relevant as an action, as a to-do list. On the other hand, you cannot understand the Jewish civilization without the very presence or the footprints or the fingerprints of his creation. And therefore, when you look at names of God, it's a fascinating story. Many years ago, time of the Second Intifada, which was bloody and was awful times in Jerusalem, people of Kahana grouping painted in graffitis all over the bus stops in Jerusalem, El Nekamot, God of vengeance. So one Motzei Shabbat, my son bought a box of color sprays and went out and erased it all and wrote Adon HaShalom, the Lord of Peace. Now the decision which element of God you sanctify into your civilization is crucial, because you have a huge menu. Angry, whimsical God of the book of Genesis kills everybody, flooding everybody, earthquaking everybody. Well, a different one, softer, prophetic one. The God of justice. God even grew up and matured in our literature. So tell me who is your God, I'll tell you what's your politics. For me, God is God of peace. Gadol hashalom shekol hamitzvot klulot bo. Greatest is the peace that it includes all commandments together.
Avram, there are things that you and I are on the same page. And when I meet you in person, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, and you're going to recognize why I say that. But I completely agree. And I agree, this is why I wear my little love pin here. And I talk about peace a lot. And everything I talk about the pursuit of peace. Because the fact is that I believe that war sullies us. It damages our souls and everything that happens with respect to this. We are wrapping things up. I want to ask you two questions. I'm going to wrap up with two questions. They're loaded questions. So, first of all,
we don't wrap. It's an opening.
First of all, is the war over?
No.
And why do you say that?
People believe that differently. You have three situations: war, no war, peace. Okay, these are three gears: drive, neutral, reverse. We didn't shift the gear into peace. So we stopped the violence, the friction for a while. Did we solve the root causes? Did we address them? Whatever they are. Right analysis, left-wing analysis, Palestinian analysis, Arab world analysis. Did we address any of the root causes? The answer is no, none of them. So I don't want to say that the American president is shallow, God forbid. I mean, we speak here about a prophet who delivers something 3,000 years of history failed to deliver. So we speak here about divine presence. But if you ask me, it is so shallow. I mean, the potential of all the triggers and all the provocations and all the fears of both societies. And one more thing. What happened in the last 2 years in Israel and in Gaza and in Palestine, a new generation of mistrust and anger and hate was born. Never mind who is right. But the sorrow and the mourning is so deep. You cannot overcome it with a stand-up comedy at the Knesset. You have to dig deeper. If the conflict is 100 years old, you need at least 100 months.
I think I hear what you're saying. But the fact is that, Trump did present, and there was a agreement on a ceasefire, an Israel-Hamas ceasefire, based on a 21-point plan. I find it personally,
Only 20 eventually.
Okay. Part of that plan requires, there's a lot of different conditions. But the main conditions of that plan, in order to effectively have a sustainable and lasting peace and the rebuilding of Gaza, is going to be the demilitarization and exit of Hamas. How likely do you think that's going to happen? And do you think that is critical? Do you think that is a critical criteria?
It is very critical. It's very critical, but I think there is an element that this is, unfortunately, people do not read history, apropos the beginning of our conversation, okay? Less or no less important than the militarization is deradicalization of both societies. Listen, when you listen, you quoted here a lot of what you hear at the Palestinian side and the Palestinian supporters side. But you know that within the Israeli society and within the Israeli cabinet, there were and there are still genocidal discourses. You have to de-radicalize the societies. And you could not imagine nowadays Japan and nowadays Germany without the intensive de-radicalization of the society.
We are in agreement. We are in agreement there, Avrum.
Whomever went there, in a way, thought about America in Iraq, which was a failure in and inside out and outside in, rather than about other models.
Afghanistan.
Fortunately.
Afghanistan, a complete failure. Devastating. So I think that we can both agree. We can both agree, and I talk about it in my book, The Wake Up Call, and I talk about that we have to have a breakdown of the syllabus of hate, that we have to remove the curriculum that is just promoting hatred against either people and just perpetuates this idea of hate within generations. From the time kids are 5 years old, they're learning to hate somebody, where we need to change that curriculum to turn it to love.
Agree, but we have to be fair and to remove it not just from the Muslim madrasas, but also from the yeshivot.
I completely agree with you. You will not find, look at, where I get hot and heavy is I'm concerned about my survival and the survival of the Jewish people. And I'm concerned, and never again will we be led like sheep into a gas chamber. Never again should our destiny be the subject of another, and should we have to suffer from the consequence of anti-Semitism. But when you talk about extremism, I absolutely agree with you, and I talk about it in my book. The syllabus of hate must change, the curriculum must change, and we've got to change the narrative. In order to do that, this requires everyone's cooperation to do so. And it also comes from a foundation of the love of life. Because if you don't love life, then there's no future and there's no hope in the future.
I take it two steps further than you, with your permission. The first is you have to completely clean the Jewish textbooks. If a kid in a religious school in Israel grows up and believes that the Amalekites, the Palestinians, are the Amalekites, it's a genocide from the Torah. It's a problem. Later being expressed as a policy by ministers. The second is, you speak about the book you wrote. Let me tell you about the book I'm writing. That's my next book. When I ask for Israel, tell me about your Judaism. Tell me what is it. So, I say, that you love your friend like yourself, love, Shabbat is a social, not Bernie Sanders socialism, and all the good things we gave to the world. And then I will ask you, Israel, tell me intellectually, how comes that we have such illuminated texts and we are so fucked up? I mean, what's wrong? Why doesn't it work? And my answer in my next book is that we always find it easy to address the illuminated positive text, and we never had the courage to address the poisonous texts of Judaism. And I wrote a book about at least 10 such poisonous texts in Judaism. I'll give you one. Just one. Is it possible to have a democracy in which all citizens are equal, leave aside with the notion that one element in the society is chosen and therefore superior? And the notion of chosenness, especially as interpreted by the religious institutions, establishments, and mentors, can live together with the democratic notion. A problem.
Well, what is the answer to that?
No.
Is it possible? So your answer is no.
My answer is democracy first. And therefore,
Which is a modern concept.
Yeah, I say democracy can contain Judaism. Judaism cannot contain democracy.
Avrum Burg, we're coming up to the end of this interview. We've gone well over what I wanted, and for good reason. I've really enjoyed our conversation. You are poetic in your delivery. You are articulate in your beliefs, and you are not afraid to talk about exactly where you stand. And I, sir, respect that.
And I apologize for every personal nuance I took against you, because by the beginning of the day, I was too many years at the Israeli parliament.
Avram, I take nothing personally. I really appreciate that you've joined me today, and I really mean it when we're there. We're I-5. Avrum Burg, if the world was listening right now and you had a message to give to the world, to send out there, what would you say?
Sim shalom tova uvracha.
Chayim v'chim v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael l'mecha.
Well, on the entire world.
Avrum Burg, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Israel Ellis, and this is The Unfiltered View with Avrum Burg here today. Don't be shy. If you like what you see, share this episode. It's the currency we deal with here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and comment, because we want to hear your comments. We want to open up the conversation. Dialogue is the ingredients towards truth and understanding. And regardless of whether you agree or disagree, I think it's very important, and we really appreciate those comments that are coming in. Subscribe on IsraelEllis.com. Go to my Substack at Israel Ellis. Subscribe there. I'm going to wish you peace, love, happiness, and hopefully we're in a better place today than we were yesterday. Thank you very much for tuning in when you had the choice to tune out.